Welcome to Zombies Entombment. We're in Oconee Hill Cemetery, Athens, Georgia. You believe in paranormal? Well, you may just after you've seen what we filmed. We just did a 3 series of haunted locations. The Moon River Brewery in Savannah, Georgia. McRaven's in Vicksburg, Mississippi. And Bobby Mackey's in Wilder, Kentucky. And the story he told is pretty incredible. The evidence that I gathered through these 3 haunted locations is pretty convincing. We caught voices, apparitions. The tarot cards were amazing. Tarot, to me, is I'm fascinated with it. I'm not a professional per se, and I'm learning every day. And I'll never claim to be a professional. The story that Bobby Mackey's told me, the story when I put all 3 haunted locations together, told me very, very incredible story. And it convinced me 100% that there is paranormal out there, and that we do have some sort of life after we end this. After a haunted location series with haunted houses, as an artist, I did not know how to take Zombies Entombment to another level. I use tarot cards. Here, I'm not using any tarot cards. I'm just bringing the cameras here. I just got myself a full spectrum camera, so I'm pretty excited. I'm like, it's my first full spectrum camera. Wow, you know. So I'm here in Athens, Georgia, and I was with a friend of mine. We're working here, so after work we came here and we started just filming. He went his way, I went my way. Segments to see how I look with, you know, graveyard tombs in the back, so I want to see how cool it looked or how odd it looked, you know, depending on after I looked at the video of how good it's going to be. Would it give any inspiration? And of course, yes, it gave incredible inspiration. You may be born to a life of eternal. What you do in this life, please be careful. Please very love a lot for everyone to love each other and care for each other and do the right thing. After you watch the documentary, Moon, Raven's Music documentary, understand that there is life after death. According to the tarot cards, you know, we are born into eternal. How we live this life, it may affect what happens when you get to the next stage of life. So please, out there, you know, be careful. You know, be good to each other. Zombies Entombment, thank you. So far, every cemetery I've caught something unusual that I cannot explain. Stuff that may be birds, maybe bugs. Even at times you can tell what a bird looks like in the paranormal, full spectrum camera. You can see the wings flap. You know, bugs, you know, they're so small, but, you know, I'm amazed that they glow like that. So, you know, it's possible. But we caught one apparition here in a cemetery plot. You know, the gate on it says the whole family. So most definitely with technology, we are starting to figure out a lot more about paranormal. But there's one segment here, and it's right behind me. I believe this is the hall. Behind me is the Hall plot, cemetery. When I walked out of their cemetery plots, I'm seeing something incredible that I've never seen before. That's most definitely paranormal. So it seemed to either like me or was curious about me. Paranormal here will talk to us, and if they do talk to us, what do they have to say? Shook my hand, or he punched me in the genitalia. You know, my private parts. So stay with us. We got a lot to say and a lot to review, a lot to show you, to show that there may be paranormal, actual real paranormal. Welcome, Zombies Entombment.
chills. Left here for dead in the infirmary. I used to know you. Is it nightmare? Can't you see it? 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 Did they stop withering away? Pain is subdued from yesterday. But now I feel as if you never really cared. Cold water shivers and gives me the chills. Left here for dead in the infirmary. I used to love you. It's a nightmare. Can't you see it? It's a nightmare. Can't you see it? It's a nightmare. Can't you see it? It's a nightmare. Can't you see it?
Welcome to Zombies Entombment. You believe in paranormal? You just might after this. This is our cemetery series. If there's real paranormal, if there's really another place where we go, another dimension or something like that, this will probably be the best place to figure that out. As you can see, most people here are deceased.
So there's paranormal. This will probably be the best place to figure out if there's real paranormal.
What I caught here was pretty amazing. Welcome to Zombies Entombment. We are at Oconee Hill Cemetery, Athens, Georgia.
First, we are going to start off with the full 45-second clip Edward filmed. What was just supposed to be a test marketing clip with a full spectrum camera to get ideas for further Zombies Entombment narration and filming ideas for the show turned out to be one of the most amazing paranormal clips to date.
I'll do my best to explain this video clip. There is so much paranormal going on, it's almost unbelievable. Here it is in regular speed, untouched, unedited. Don't blink, because you'll miss a lot. Also pay very close attention. These paranormals move fast. Did you see that? Probably not. Here it is again in extra slow motion. I will explain to you everything we see. Is there more going on that we didn't see? Yes, I do believe so. The paranormal is very mysterious. Bonus. There is also verbal communication from this paranormal. I'll explain that after this visual explanation. Focus in between the right entrance pole and the gravestone just right of that. There will be two apparitions appearing, one small and grayish colored, the other rustic color. They both seem to appear out of the hall cemetery plot just to the right of myself as I'm making my way into the cemetery plot. The grayish one will appear by the gravestone, quickly followed by the bigger rustic color one, which will appear to join the first one. Then they move to the right hand corner of the camera frame. This camera frame is important. It gives us a big clue to who this apparition can be. The apparition seemed to jump up just below the half mark of the camera frame. Notice, just to the left of the pillar in the background, we can make out a face. Researching the Hall family, I came across this picture of Dr. Henry Hall. When comparing the picture to the face in the video, there are similarities. Mr. Hall was born in 1798 and died in 1881. That would make him deceased for 130 years now. He was a Southern gentleman, physician for 10 years. Then he occupied the chair of mathematics and astronomy at the University of Georgia, of which he was already a trustee. These apparitions seem to be running towards a camera. Then they clear the camera frame. I reach my mark inside the cemetery plot and getting ready to make my camera test walk towards the camera. Before I walk, these apparitions seem to come back into the camera frame similar to where they disappeared. They may have been having a look at who is walking into their cemetery plot from a safe distance. About upper mid frame is where the apparition first appears. Immediately it drops down to the lower frame area and starts to make its way towards me. Running on the lower frame path, they eventually reach where I'm standing. As this rustic mist reaches my location, you can clearly see them touch, possibly shake my hand, then run off. Heading towards the camera location, there's also a message from this paranormal to confirm this was a handshake. We'll get to that in a few. Notice the middle upper left camera frame. Something orby, ghostly appears, disappears. Then around the same time, there's something at the very top left corner of the camera frame. Pops its head in, then it disappears. Wait for it. Something else similar looking, but a little smaller, pops its head in at the same camera frame area and then disappears.
Never guessed where I was gonna be.
Now I'm making my way towards the camera. When I arrive, you can see this little rustic mist pop into the camera frame on top of my lower arm. Then it moves to my middle elbow. Next move is very important because it's a big clue to help us understand what these black flying orbs are in the sky, if you haven't noticed them already. We'll discuss this more in part 2. This little rustic mist splits, moves to my right middle chest, and disappears.
Never guessed where I was gonna be.
Paranormal wise, I 100% have no idea what's going on. Only until the footage is reviewed do I start to understand what was around me. I pick up the camera to film more sections of this cemetery. I pan left for a second before I start panning right. This part is very hard to see. Just to the left of that left entrance pole, a black orb moves up towards the trees. This is very odd. It's so fast, slowing the film down, it's harder or impossible to see. At this slow motion rate, it's tricky, but you can see it move. Keep your eye on the second grave just to the left of the left entrance pole. As I start panning right, further in distance you can see what seems to be a white ghostly orb moving from the tree section of the frame to this farther tombstone pillar on the right. I start panning left, counterclockwise, as the ghostly orb is moving right, clockwise. Full 180 from the starting point, it's hard to see, but look at the top, middle, and left, there is a quick flash of a white orb. As my notification from my email sounds off on my cell phone, Coincidence? Maybe. This moment is important. There's a verbal message here. Remember the ghostly orb moving right as I'm moving left? We're about to meet up again. Look at your middle top left of the camera frame. It seems to pop into a large, ghostly shaped orb. Takes off to the top right for 2 camera frames. Drops down from the top of the trees to the middle of the tree, then to the top of the gravestone, then it drops a little further, and finally making one last direction to the far right, then disappears. Here is a little closer look at your friendly apparitions.
It's a nightmare. Can't you see it? It's a nightmare. Can't you see it? It's a nightmare. Can't you see it? It's a nightmare. Can't you see it?
After studying this film more, here's our concluding evidence why we believe this rustic mist communicated with myself. After the rustic mist shakes my hand, it seems to disappear from the camera frame. I believed it moved and is standing next to the camera. It says something before popping into the upper left-hand camera frame, as to say hi. Here's my evidence. Did you hear that sound? The sound is a little different, and it stands out as a little louder than your normal nature and city outside sounds. Here is the second message. We found this when we were trying to decode the sound. Its timing is very oddly strange coincidentally. This rustic mist moves extremely fast. When film is sped up, the vocal sound speeds up, makes a higher pitched sound until it eventually becomes sort of a sound. Taking this concept, we slowed the audio down to see maybe this may help us understand what this paranormal is saying. What we hear is, "Thank you for coming." When the camera reaches approximately 180 degrees from the original film location, there is a white orb appearing for a millisecond. At the same time, my email notification goes off on my cell phone, along with hearing some weird and strange outside noises. Slow down, you can hear a high-pitched voice saying, "Welcome to our place." Then the white ghostly apparition that was moving clockwise as I was moving counterclockwise appears.
See, this is a cemetery. Most people here are deceased. Hi, folks. How you doing? If the paranormal here will talk to us, and if they do talk to us, what do they have to say?
Now I'm going to talk to you about something paranormal bogus, but it's going to lead up to something that we cannot explain. As you already noticed, there is a bright orby light coming from the trees. This is my second time back here at Oconee Hill Cemetery. As I'm setting up is when the light emerges from the trees. curious as to what's behind these trees. Here we find a neighborhood sitting upon a hill behind the cemetery. Here you can obviously see the cemetery. There are a few places where a car's light could shine through these trees since this is not summertime. And this time of year, the trees are bare with no leaves. Now notice the car moving from the neighborhood behind the trees. Here is a big clue to say this light is coming from the trees and is not paranormal. Here you can actually see the car move on the road at the neighborhood behind the trees, and also making a bright light shine exactly where the first light shined.
We're at Oconee Cemetery, Athens, Georgia.
More bogus paranormal here. It's that leaf moving at the bottom right corner of the camera frame. This film here has big questions, with no explanation since I've never seen anything like this before. I was starting slow motion. Here it looks more paranormal. Notice it starts falling from the blue sky section at the top of the camera frame. It falls down quickly. Here in slow motion it looks orby shaped. In regular speed I would swear it's a leaf falling from one of the trees in the background, but that would have to be one magical leaf, since it's a very far distance from Mr. Hall's cemetery plot to the trees in the background. Eventually, this orb lands clearly inside Mr. Hall's cemetery plot. The orb blocks the cemetery fence to conclude that it's inside the fence, not outside. Here, I'm going to show you the blue sky, the sky's landscape. As you can clearly see, the blue sky, there really are no trees anywhere close to Mr. Hall's cemetery plot. So we cannot consider this orb to be a leaf. Again, anything's possible. Regular speed, notice how it falls? I would consider this a leaf. Here is the second orb, but this one seems to come from the trees in the far back, which is probably a quarter mile away from Mr. Hall's cemetery plot. He'll eventually fall past on the back side of the pillar on the left-hand side, and where it falls is unknown. We have no answers if it falls in or outside Mr. Hall's cemetery plot. Regular speed, notice how it falls? I would consider this a leaf. Finally, here's a third orb just floating around the blue sky.
Apparition we caught here moved extremely fast. So when I'm here editing and I'm using video that's really fast, of course, the voice goes really fast, and it's really high pitched. So there was a certain chirp that was in the audio while we were seeing this apparition. So I slowed it down. This is what I heard.